It's really fascinating here because initially this was a bipartisan deal that really had a lot of baked in that would kind of escape the funding shutdown on Friday at midnight or today at midnight over in the United States. What has changed now is this kind of last minute desire to basically address the debt ceiling issue, which basically falls under his purview once he's inaugurated. He's trying to have that come under the Biden administration. And if that means tying it to the federal shutdown bill, he's willing to do that. What his initial plan was that was put forward by Mike Johnson as the revised bill was to extend the debt ceiling to 2027. All that means is it just means that it's easier to accrue more debt, to widen the deficit because you're not hitting that limit because the limit has now moved. You're basically following a moving target. Now he's talking about not only extending it to 2029 in the face, by the way, of this vote that failed in Congress. So we are still barreling towards a federal government shutdown and a debt ceiling issue in January as well. Now he's suggesting eliminating the debt ceiling altogether and extending it to 2029. Here's the problem with that, though, and the reason that the debt ceiling has been such a contentious issue in the United States is because, one, conservatives, the majority of conservatives, have actually pushed back against raising the debt ceiling. They actually want to bring it back in line and not have the same problems that you're seeing in France, for example, where increasing the debt ceiling and living beyond your means is a major negative. They don't want to be the party associated with that. The other piece is that back in 1917, this is a little bit of a history lesson, but this is the reason it matters. Congress had to get approval to the Treasury every time they wanted to do something, issue war bonds, create subsidies, add pandemic aid, disaster relief. That all had to go through congressional approval rather than the Treasury just being able to issue that debt or get that fundraising. That's why the debt ceiling baked into it can help you go around it and make that process a lot easier. So removing the debt ceiling could help these conversations on things like federal shutdowns every couple of months, but it also makes things harder to get that aid and get that funding to the rest of the country when needed.